so you don't miss upcoming retro emulation content here on my channel. Just Jamie. Okay, before I start today's retrobat version 6.3.0, if you like what you see today, hit notifications, subscribe and like so you don't miss. Okay, who's here this evening in the UK? Looks like someone watching already. So yeah, short notice, as it normally is actually when I do live streams, but I've not done one for a couple of weeks, few weeks. Blimey, 5 people. That's quick. So yeah, if you just joined, I've I've not uploaded. I've not streamed for a few weeks, couple of weeks now. Just been really busy in the background, but as a lot of you are aware, I had a week off of uploading, and nowadays I'm a little bit giddy, a little bit dizzy. Looks like I've got something called tinnitus in one of my ears, which is possibly the symptoms for something called Meniere's disease. So it's caused me to get really drowsy and very lightheaded. Um, I had vertigo through extreme stress that some moron caused me a couple of years ago. Hello, Bob. Yeah, so I had vertigo. I've always had issues with my ears. Someone was causing me extreme stress, and that pretty much brought on something called vertigo. So yeah, my body isn't particularly the healthiest at the moment, but I'm going to the doctors tomorrow and see what that's all about. So hopefully it's just tinnitus. If you're not sure what tinnitus is, it just means in my ear, and it really makes me feel really drowsy. So yeah, I'm trying to get that sorted out. If any of you's watched today's videos, you'll notice I've uploaded 3 gameplay videos of retro-inspired games. To be honest with you, it's been a Sunday today, and I just couldn't be bothered. I've not been out rioting in the UK like most of the public are doing at the moment. None of that. So I've literally just couldn't be bothered today, so I just uploaded some gameplay. Hello, Clint. How you doing? You, Anthony. How we doing, man? So yeah, recent upload I did do, which was a couple of days ago now, was retroarch, the X68000. I covered that one as a standalone pre-configured guide a little while back, and the Sharp X68000 is one of those Japanese computers which isn't really talked about much, and it's a real damn shame because the Sharp X68000 quality of the games, in my opinion, are probably I'd probably say like Amiga, but arcade Amiga, if that makes sense. So yeah, Sharp X68000 allegedly that computer is actually used for the CPS Capcom CPS one games. Allegedly, that's not sure if there's any truth in that, but if you can get hold of a real Sharp X68000, good luck with you. They're worth a fortune. So really nice looking machines. And there's a YouTuber I watch called The Cave. He's based in my country in England, and he actually had one sent into his museum. I think it's down south of where I am. I'm up north in England, and yeah, for such an old computer, it's really looking nice. You know, some computers, let's say BBC Micro, they look dated, but the Sharp X68000, wow, you know, it still looks really classy, really stylish. Let me just tell everyone as well, if anyone's planning on donating to the channel to support what I do, you know, that type of thing, if you could possibly send it donations to support to my PayPal. I just put that into the live chat. It just saves a lot of hassle, that type of thing. So yeah, that's my PayPal address, and that's all set up. So yeah, just click on the link, and that will take you to PayPal. What else have I got to say? So, yeah, illness, and yes, I'm still doing setup guides, but it might be a little bit lacking at the moment because, of course, when I'm learning about stuff to teach everyone who's watching my videos, I need to learn that stuff. And when you're feeling drowsy, you don't really want to do it. So, you know, um, retrobat. So I know I got a lot of subscribers on my channel for retrobat. I know that. What was the last retrobat I did? It was. Oh, I think it's been a while actually. Uh, see, problem is with the retrobat guides is that I did a hell of a lot of retrobat setups well over a year back, and people who's joining me now subscribing for retrobat content, you're subscribing for older stuff, but that's not to say I've still not got retrobat coming because I've got loads to do for it. I'm just trying to spread out things. So yeah, the last time I did a retrobat guide was actually a request. It was a couple of weeks ago for PS Vita Vita 3K. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So somebody asked me to do that one. Did it originally about a year ago, but someone said um, the latest retrobat stable. I think it's 6.3.0. It's a little bit different. So anyway, that setup guide is done. And a couple of weeks back, I also randomly did Sam Coupe. For those not aware what Sam Coupe is, it's pretty much, let's just say, a posh looking ZX Spectrum. So an 8-bit micro. It's got a bit of a cult following. It was released around 1989, and it released way after that period of micros during the 80s. So when it was released, it was kids of that time and even adults, they, you know, moved on to consoles at the time. So again, just like the Sharp X68000, the Sam Coupe computer, if you can get hold of one, good God, they are very costly. Wouldn't say as costly as the Commodore 65 if you can get hold of one of those prototypes because they are like gold dust. So let's if none of you have actually seen the Sharp X68000, let me show you a picture of this beaut. It's whoa. If you're into computers of the 80s and early 90s like I am, this is a lovely looking machine. Look at this. Looks a bit dusty, this one. Really nice looking system. And the Sam Coupe I was just talking about for retrobat is white, and here it is. So obviously, when this came out in the very late 80s, cassette tapes are no longer the predominant media. So the manufacturers of Sam Coupe went on to do a floppy disk drive, which was embedded into the computer itself. So yeah, really nice looking computer, but like I say, very expensive. In fact, let's have a quick wander on eBay and see how much these are going for these days, if there's any. Yeah, just lots of floppy disks there. Yeah, nothing around by the seams of it. We got mechanical keyboards, reproduction probably. Uh, and whilst I'm here, let's check out, see if Sharp X68,000 is on the bay. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We got a sharp just here. This is actually from Japan. Uh, in British money, that's just over £1,000 for a sharp. And that's not got a monitor with it. So, and this one's in grey. So, not sure which model that one is, but still very nice. Ujib, hello. Yes, I know. MAME has got a new update. It's literally every month, and there was a time years ago when MAME was updated every month, and I'm pretty sure it was on a Wednesday. But I think that MAME update is literally come within the last day or two. So yeah. Can't think off the top of my head what version it's on. Zero something. Let's have a look. MAME latest version. Latest MAME release is MAME 0.268b. So yeah, I've done lots of MAME setup guys tutorials on the channel. Trouble is that they're literally going to be the same thing. So if I was to do a new tutorial every month, I'm literally going to be doing the same thing on repeat, just only with a new ROM set. And then you've got to look for the main ROM set itself. And when a new main release comes out, it's very, very difficult to track down the ROM set to go with it. So that's what I find. Yeah, you know what, Devout Craziness? I've got a few bits and pieces. I got lots of games, random expensive games in some cases. I've got some Neo Geo CD games. So roughly, the guides I do, the games I use are pretty much from my collection. But in terms of hardware, some of the hardware, so the Amiga 1200, is just outrageously priced. So as an alternative for the Amiga 1200, I've got the A500 Mini, which adds for my 40th. I got a Commodore 64 Maxi, and we have got the Amiga Mini or Amiga 500 Mini or A500 Maxi rather coming out possibly this year. So now, if anyone remembers the Amiga 500, you know how beastly and bulky that thing was. It was huge, like massive, like a Commodore 128. But the thing which really annoyed me when I was a young teenager with the A500 was the sound modulator in the back. So if you had like a smallish desk, the machine would take up most of the desk itself. And then on top of that, you'd have that annoying modulator in the back as well, which made it poke out even more. And it was just, oh. But obviously, the Amiga 600s came, but that was pretty much a cut down Amiga 500, is argued. But the good thing with the A600 model is that it was a lot smaller. So if it was released nowadays, I think Commodore would have likely have called it the Amiga 500 Slim, like PlayStation do with an Xbox does. So, what have I got coming? I have got some more RetroArch tutorials. Some of you listening to that might feel a bit like, no, not RetroArch, but it really isn't that bad. Like RetroArch, it looks complex, but really, if you want to play a game and pretty much play a game, it's very easy to set up in most systems in RetroArch. Check in for a bit from Chicago once again. Yo, John Phillips. And she plays. I watch a woman, and she plays PC 98. Oh, the neck PC 98. I'm not sure what you mean by woman though. Is this a YouTuber? Yeah, the PC 98. There was the PC 8. Was it the PC neck PC 8000? 8100? Of course, I'm not too familiar with the neck NEC computers because obviously they were uh, pretty much just Japanese. And of course, that's why the X68,000 isn't too known in the west of the world because didn't really see much life at the time outside of Japan. And of course, at the time, in, say, America and even in England, in the UK, around the time of these computers, we've already got Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum, and even Amstrad. Um, so yeah, to market a new computer from Japan, I suppose might have been a bit tricky. Not sure. I love retroarch. It took a guy on Discord to show me while she is on Twitch. Yeah, you know what? People's been saying to me in the past, go to Twitch, but I'm a bit old school with YouTube. Definitely. You know, in the old days with YouTube, there was some very random stuff on it. You didn't get paid. And, well, it was all educational pretty much. Sort of around 2006, I think I started using YouTube, and there wasn't much on it. But the thing is, with YouTube nowadays, you get too much of the same thing, far too much of the same thing. For example, if I was to upload Angry Video Game Nerds gameplay video today, it's not had many views, in all honesty, because YouTube has likely got video after video after video of that game. But years ago, if you uploaded it, you would have been viewed more, definitely. Yeah, so Twitch, I know of it, I've heard of it, but I don't use it, definitely not. And you know, I keep saying at the end of my videos, join me on Twitter. I got to keep reminding myself it's no longer called Twitter, it's actually called X these days. And then Mr. Musk took it over, and then he fancied calling it X. And I personally, I think it sounds ridiculous, but that's just me. So if you've just joined, Um, let's see. Yeah, obviously the UK's got lots of riots going on at the moment, or protests, or far right fascism protests, whatever the mainstream media prefers to call it. I'll just tell you that I'm safe just here. Um, we actually had my closest big town, this place called Middlesbrough. I think it was today and yesterday, or yesterday, big protests slash riots and all that type of thing. And my hometown of Bristol, South Gloucestershire, Bristol, which is the south of England, also had its fair share of riots, protests the other day. So it makes me proud to be Bristolian that Bristolians can join in on the action. So, so yeah, if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about at the moment, I know I've got a lot of American people watching, or likely got a lot of American people watching. People are going mental in the UK at the moment. Devout, yeah. It's the thing is we had a very terrible conservative government, a really bad one. In the space of what's our term? It's confusing because when the public voted Conservative before Labour just got in, it normally lasts, what, 5 years, I think it is. But in that 4 or 5 years, we had somewhat ridiculous, like, I think 5 prime ministers during that few years. Uh, so we started off with David Cameron. This was during Brexit. He couldn't do it, so he quit. We had a woman come in next who was not Liz Trust, the one which lasted just over a month. It was she walked with almost like when she walked, it looked like something was up her asshole. Theresa May, and then of course we had who was it next? See, this is ridiculous. In the space of 4 or 5 years, I'm literally thinking at the names of these people. We have Boris Johnson, or more commonly known as Bojo. Of course, Bojo, sort of his downfall was telling the public here in the UK not to go out, not to have parties, not to have social gatherings, whilst he was cool doing it himself. Pretty much all of his MPs is people working for him. a lot of them were caught doing things they shouldn't have been during pandemic. Who was up after Bojo? It was Elizabeth, no, Liz Trust. Liz Truss. She lasted a staggering, I think it was 36 days. And then, after Liz Truss pissed off the public here, something to do with bills going up, rising, I think it was energy or something, we finally had Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak pissed off people even more than Boris Johnson, I think. So, come the end of it, the public were absolutely furious with what the Tories have done, the Conservatives have done. They consistently annoys the public. So when it comes to our vote, most of the country voted Labour. They voted Labour because they just clearly sick to death of Conservative. So right now, as of now, we've got this chap known as Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer has come in, and to my knowledge, to date, he's not done a single thing that he said he was going to do. I think he's sacked 7 of his MPs, members of Parliament, who works for him in their different constituencies. And a little while back, a couple of weeks ago, a few girls were murdered in Liverpool, and I just noticed someone's riot still going off in Liverpool. Is that live right now, Clint, in Liverpool? So, anyways, the the public all round the country have just truly lost their shits right now. I've been following it myself. Not that I um, condone violence because I don't. I think there could be possibly better ways to sort things out politically. But sometimes I think it's a combination of the public sometimes not being listened to and people want change in the country, and they're certainly not getting it from Keir Starmer. Now, the interesting thing about Starmer is that even well recognised politicians, established politicians, even his own party, his own cabinet, are pretty much telling him, we pretty much want you out. You've been in less than a month, and well, the thing which made me very angry is he actually goes to Merseyside, Liverpool, and someone said on the footage, you've had your press photos and they're piss off. And that's how I see it. But so this is this is the issue with in England at the moment. I don't know if it's like it abroad in America or wherever, but people in the UK have been clamps down. You can't say anything. You can't have a laugh anymore. Political correctness gone absolutely fucking mental. Literally, you can't do or say anything. Most of you here know what I'm talking about. You've got to go very careful what you say. And yeah, I think that's why people have just suddenly lost their shit. I think these murders in Liverpool was the last straw for a lot of people. Of course, we got people catching on the bandwagon, using it as an excuse to loot shops, that type of thing. Uh, but it's just a complicated situation. And, of course, America's got your own situation at the moment. Biden is obviously uh, resigning after his final term this year. Let's see, what does that say? Which is odd to me because I always thought it was rather liberal over in the UK. It's anything but liberal in the UK. It's not been like it for a long time. So trust me, no, it's not. Like I said, you can't say anything. We got this thing. We got British humour. The British humour today is known as likely sexist, racist. Hello, Rascast. So, I mean, you got genuine protesters going to London and they're being told, they're not being told anything actually, they're literally being arrested just for standing. And, it's this type of thing people was getting sick of, no voice. And, for democracy, which we're supposed to be, we're not really getting that. And that's why people are losing their shit. So, but yeah, obviously in the States, Biden's resigning finally. I think that's about time. and is it Kamala, I think you pronounce it, Harris, who's going up against Mr. Trump. So, yeah, the world is most you're aware. The world it's a mess. You know, really is a mess. If you haven't got problems in your own country, there's threats coming from abroad. I believe the Russians have still got nuclear subs in Cuba watching Florida. So you got that going on. You got good old Kim Jong Un in North Korea. He threatens every day with nuclear bombs. That's just the way that bloke is. You got China in the background. Like I say, the world is a complete mess at the moment. So the question is, are we all gonna still be here in a few years to be talking to Just Jamie and watching Just Jamie's videos? That's the question. On a good note, sounded very pessimistic about everything. On a good note, if you like Marilyn Manson has made an epic comeback. So I suppose Marilyn Manson, he's a bit like I don't know, Donald Trump. You either love him or hate him. Personally, I love Manson. He's just released a new music video, and it's like going back 20 years. Everything he's lost weight. His vocals are improving. So yeah, it's just bad times really. I mean, let's think. Even games are boring. Just bad times really all round. Throughout this year, we've of course got another Call of Duty game coming as standard, like it's been for the last 17 or 18 years, every year. There's a game I came across which I'm really looking forward to. It's an old Amiga game called X Out. So you had Z out or Z out, and I think the sequel was X Out. It's a shooter, and let me just show you the trailer for this. It's I think it's X Out re something. If you're into shooters though, like 16-bit shooters, no, that's not it. X Out Resurface. Let me just show you this. Rainbow Arts, obviously. So so what do you all think about that? Coming this winter, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch. Would it be nice if they actually did a version for the Amiga as well? Uh, yeah, that would be pretty cool. I'm pretty sure X out. It was on C64. I suppose Spectrum would have had it. Uh, so yeah, there is Z out or Z out, and then X out. Yeah, it looks really good, and I'm looking forward to this definitely. So winter, so something to look forward to. But like I was saying just a minute ago, your general Call of Duty comes out this year. There isn't anything. And literally, I've seen that trailer earlier on today, and I thought, wow, it's a new game. I'm looking forward to play something new. The trouble is, it's not new, is it? It's an old game, just remastered. It looks like. Yeah, the errors, the Windows boxes just there. I think that was. I don't think that's going to be a part of the gameplay. I think that was just to make the video, the trailer look a little bit I don't know, old school, I suppose. So someone said, "What can I do with a rusty Commodore PET that I have in the shed?" Well, you can always send me the Commodore PET. I know they weigh a ton, but I've never actually owned a Commodore PET. I know they're very expensive, but on a serious note, if you do have one, eBay it. I would say use Facebook Marketplace, but for a Commodore Pets, it's going to be a very niche audience unless a dealer tries getting it from you to sell it on himself. Um, but even if it is rusty, collectors are going to want it to work on it, or they might want bits and pieces out of it, hardware which could be working. Obviously, the Commodore PET, some of them had a cassette deck built in. So various reasons why you should sell that. And like I say, depending on the model you've got of the PET, it could be worth quite a fortune. So a bit like, I'm not sure if American people here watching would know, but in Britain in the 1980s, Sinclair, who not designs, but well, the brains beyond the ZX Spectrum, he came up with an idea for a futuristic go kart, as it were. It was known as the Sinclair C5. It was known as a death trap at the time on public roads, and it didn't sell too many. But if you manage to get one today, they're very collectible because there wasn't many sold, and people would buy them in pieces, literally for the parts. I'll show you what the Sinclair C5 looked like. I dearly want one, but it's never going to happen. But bear in mind, I think this came out in 1985, was it? I'm sure it was 1985, Sinclair C5. Yes, production 1985. So it was actually assembled in Wales. Wales, the country that is. Sinclair C5, so like I said, it's like a futuristic looking go kart. And this was for real. If you're not aware of this, I'm telling you, this was for real. Clive Sinclair, he expected people to use these on roads. 1985, less traffic, but still considered as a major death trap even in its day. If you've not seen anything on that on YouTube for the Sinclair C5, the original trailers for it or whatever, uh, but they're really funky and quirky. So anyway, that's Commodore PET done. Portrait of American Family, yeah, that was Marilyn Manson's first album. I think that one was that 1994 that came out. And if you didn't listen to anything after Portrait, you're missing a lot. After that one, you had the Smells Like Children EP came out. Obviously, that was where Sweet Dreams was from. I Put a Spell on You, which was a 1950s cover Manson did, but obviously a more metal version. And after that, probably the best Manson album came out in '96. That was Antichrist Superstar. Awesome stuff, followed by Mechanical Animals. The 90s era for Manson was great. To be honest, Portrait, it was okay. I wouldn't say it was my favorite Manson album, but there was a few good tracks on it. I think I consider that album okay because I think at that point, Manson, I don't know, I don't think he become too notorious for apparently brainwashing children to do horrific things. Uh, Obviously, Antichrist Superstar came out. We've got all the Christians protesting not to watch him and stuff. And I like controversy in music, and that's why I was a big Manson fan back in the day. Because it's very controversial, and yeah, good stuff. The UK actually is where I get most of my favourite music. You know what, Devout? The UK, once upon a time, was a hotspot for music. Obviously, in the 1960s, you had the Beatles, um, just as big in America as they are in the UK. We had the Rolling Stones, loads of 60s bands from the UK. Obviously, the 70s, you had a lot of interesting bands like the Who was still around in the 70s. Lot of prog rock going around that time. Obviously, Queen came out around the 70s. The 1980s, 70s again, a lot of punk. Obviously, punk was pretty much New York Dolls in the mid to late 70s in New York, I believe. And then Britain got hold of that idea, and then we did it. And then the 90s, we had Britpop around the mid 90s, and then you had bands like Oasis and Pulp. I was a big Oasis fan back in the day. It was either that or Blur, and I wasn't a big Blur fan. I just looked at them like little posh boys who eats cheese nowadays for a living. So yeah, without a doubt, my country it's gave us some incredible music over the years. So Napalm Death. You know what? I know of Napalm Death. I gotta show you this. You've just mentioned Napalm Death. Let me show you this. You might have seen this already, but oh, this is absolutely hilarious. You know what I'm going to type in? If you know it, you know it. You got to check this out. Seriously. Look, Jim Carrey, hilarious impression of Napalm Death.
You were rocking out to the music. You like music, man? I love music. I love every kind of music, but recently I've really started to get into this thrash metal music. I don't know, there's something about it, man, that I just can't let go. It's great, it's great. There's this one band out that's called Napalm Death. And it's so hilarious. I mean, I listened to this album, I started listening to this album, and it was literally, I'm not exaggerating, that was it. You know, and I thought, you know, someday this guy's gonna want to slow down and do some duets. You don't bring me flowers. I'm a little bit country.
Yeah, Cannibal Corpse was in Ace Ventura playing Hammer Smash Face. Yeah, I watched Ace Ventura when it came out. I actually had it, I think, for my 13th or 14th birthday at the time. Obviously, Jim Carrey was huge back then. But I think in the UK, the first major Jim Carrey film we had was The Mask. And then I think it was Ace Ventura. And I'm pretty sure after that it was Dumb and Dumber. But being a young teenager around that era, Jim Carrey, just absolutely hilarious, like for young teenagers to watch. And yeah, it was actually, it turns out that Jim Carrey actually asked a production team of Ace Ventura to put Cannibal Corpse in there. Apparently, Jim Carrey was a big thrash and death metal fan. I'm not sure if there's any truth to that, but in that little clip just there, he certainly knows who Napalm Death are. So, but talking about Ace Ventura and Cannibal Corpse, there's actually a cut version of that which I've seen. So parts of it was actually cut for the actual release. Oh, it was Ace Ventura. Yeah, I often think about was it The Mask or was it Ace Ventura first? I'm sure it was The Mask, but obviously not. I remember when I first started secondary school, year seven. What was I, 12? 12 at the time. I remember going to school on the bus, and I remember really clearly the mask being advertised on bus stop posters, like almost like billboard posters, I suppose. Yeah, the mask. What a film! It's shame that the sequel, Son of the Mask. I've never seen it, and never will see it. I truly think the mask deserved a true sequel with Jim Carrey in it. But yeah, the sequel we got was like, nah. A little bit like Home Alone. Two awesome films from Macaulay Culkin. And what the hell happened after that? I think we're on number five at the moment, four or five. And it's like, without Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, and the other man, it's not really Home Alone, is it? It's just taking someone's idea and putting random different people in it. Um, Yeah, and Dumb and Dumber. Obviously, we had a Dumb and Dumber 2. That was just totally underwhelming. I think it was left far too long, something like 20 years. And it was so boring. The original Dumb and Dumber, what a film. I got worms. Mary Swansonite. But like I was saying, obviously, young teenagers or kids in the 90s watching stuff like Dumb and Dumber, especially when Jeff Daniels is on the toilet um, taking a dump with that pretty young lady. What's her name? Mary. Just outside. It's absolutely hilarious stuff. And then what do we have? I think Liar Liar came out eventually, but I think by the time Liar Liar came out, I don't know. I think I got a little bit bored of Jim Carrey at that point because I did find he was pretty much doing the same character in pretty much all his films. And then early 2000s came, and then I think that really funny side started disappearing. I think the funniest last film he did to me was Fun with Dick and Jane. Really good film, really funny film. Uh, what was it after that? He did a film called The Number 23, I think it was. And that's when it started going a bit weird. It's like, well, I respect any actor which can cover different styles, but Jim Carrey's got a funny face. You're expecting him to be funny, and uh, yeah, didn't happen. And I randomly the other day with my partner watched Man on the Moon. I remember when that one came out in the cinema years ago, but I watched it literally for the first time the other day, and it didn't impress me too much. I gotta say, the Three Ninjas. Yeah, I've never seen one. I know of the Three Ninjas films, but to be honest with you, I didn't even know there was more than one. Dare I say it? Um, yeah. So yeah, when I was growing up, I always used to go to the video shop probably two, maybe three times a week. And most films of that era, you had all the earnest films, a lot of American comedy films I remember seeing. There was particular films, if I didn't like the look of the cover, I just wouldn't rent it. I'm pretty sure Three Ninjas was there. And I always remember Ernest films. Obviously, Ernest was an American comedian, but there was just something about those Ernest films I didn't like the look of. So, yeah, I didn't get them. 80s films for me, films are crap these days. You're damn right, Clint. Damn right. Films have been shite for years. Absolutely terrible. Right, I'm gonna say I was a horror fan, a big horror fan when I was younger, because there was stuff worth watching. And then I think around the early 2000s, horror, slashers, that type of thing, fantasy horror, it started disappearing. And today we're left with very cheaply budget made films with actors and actresses. It looks like they can't be asked to be in the films. And, unless you're into Marvel, uh, films are crap. They're utter shite. In fact, the only film, I've got two films I'm looking forward to this year. Literally, I've got the new Alien film, Alien Romulus. I love the Alien films. And the other one is Terrifier 3. And I'm not even sure if that one's due out this year. And that's it. I say this a lot, but if we look at, say, the year 1994, 1994 gave us several classic films. I think Forrest Gump came out in 94, Pulp Fiction came out in 94. I think it was either 94, maybe 95, Trainspotting came out. Jim Carrey would have had a film in '94. I think it was The Mask or his Ace Ventura. But a single year alone in '90s had literally classic after classic. Again, Shawshank Redemption. I'm pretty sure that one came out in '94. Um, it's endless. And then you go to the 2000s, and then films they just begin to start not being memorable films. Quality, production, everything just starts just terrible. So don't get me started about that. Even modern music, the whole world, man, it stinks nowadays. Everything about it. And it's not even a matter of being older, grumpy old man. It genuinely is terrible. Terrible films, fairly bad games, modern games. It's just boring times we live in. Choices. I used to um, work in Choices Video. Funny enough, my partner don't remember Choices. I actually worked in Blockbuster. I didn't like Blockbuster personally. I'm probably the only one it didn't. But growing up in the early 90s, possibly late 80s, I'd go to independent film shops with my dad. And traditionally, back then, you would have an old man behind a counter with an ashtray filled up with cigarette butts. And slowly, they start disappearing. Of course, Choices briefly came to the UK, probably for a few years. And then Blockbuster started taking over, and I worked at Blockers for I think it was 6 or 7 years, possibly something like that. The only reason I worked with Blockbuster is because I always wanted to work in a video shop. I didn't particularly like much about it, but it was a video shop, and that's really what I wanted to do. But yeah, if I had a choice, I would happily go into a Choices back then rather than Blockbuster any day. I worked in a Choices briefly, and somebody who was meant to give me a reference let me down, so I lost the job. But when I started at Choices, this was so long ago, the last Crocodile Dundee film came out, which was Crocodile Dundee in LA. And that film got really slated at the time. It was okay. It wouldn't do Crocodile Dundee 2 or even the first one, but it was alright for what it was. So, anyways, let's talk about some retro gaming. I've advertised this stream as retro gaming, and as usual in my streams, I don't know, it just don't end up going into a retro gaming discussion. It's just the way it goes. But before my streams, I've got every intention about talking about emulation, but it just never seems to go that way. So, what's people wanting? Let's start a new story. Let's start a new chapter of this stream. What's people wanting from just Jamie? Right, very briefly, Video Man turned up in his car, and I remember those times. And if you remember those times when people used to do that, they also did it with games as well. During the PlayStation 1 era, I always remember this this man coming up with a load of PlayStation 1 games in the boot of his car. Looked very shady looking back at it. Light guns. I'm waiting for one actually. Yeah, I actually ordered a light gun a little while back and totally forgot about it until you just said. But yeah, um, I ordered that probably about a week ago. So yeah, when it turns up, if it turns up, like I said, just read that and it's like, oh yeah, I've actually got one. Uh, just a very mad couple of weeks it's been. So yeah, I'll investigate that, see where it is. Was it a Sindon? I think it was a Sindon. I think, yeah, I'm sure it was a Sindon. Yeah, like I said, if you've been with the stream since I started, right at the start, I've been saying I haven't been too well lately. Drowsiness, coin ops, Jamie. So coin ops, it's not a front end. Coin ops is actually something I've covered. Coin ops is actually built using retrofe. The front end is literally called retrofe, and someone's used retrofe to come up with coinops, which is the name of the style of it, I suppose. Let me show you something. A sec. Du- 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 du. You fancy having a go at building your own type of coinops? This is how they're built. Like I say, retro FE. Uh, so I've done three of them, but to be fair, they're not that popular. I think it's because they're pretty complex. They're pretty complicated. Uh, so one I did just here was the initial setup guide. So what I will do, if you're interested, I'll just paste this one in the chat. And like I said, retrofe just there. That's what CoinOps is. That's where it comes from, building on that front end. Like I said, probably not too popular because it involves a lot of text editing, lots of text editing. The other one to look at, if you're interested, is something called attract mode, which I've actually covered. So attract mode is pretty similar to retrofe, but I'd say attract mode was a little bit more user friendly. So attract mode, I've done two. Uh, Personally, I would go for the attract mode, setting up retroarch. Again, so a lot of people's put off with retroarch because retroarch to a lot of people is too much going on, too many options. So combine that with something complicated to some like attract mode. RetroArch and attract mode together to some isn't a nice combination. But anyways, have a look at this one. Just go across right to the start of this. This is the Novato feed. Copy info. Let me just show you what attract mode looks like. Which requires BIOS. Anyway, this one here then, that's for attract mode and retroarch setup. And a little while back, for attract mode, I actually came across a new layout for it, or a theme, if you will, called Arcade Flow. So once, if you're interested in the attract mode, if you're interested, new themes in it, they're called layouts in attract mode. This is how you can get it looking if you really want to. Bear with me. Press enter, and if I press up, it's only coming up with Mario Golf because I've only got saying that we've completed this game. And again, from here, we can go to hidden, and we can actually hide particular games that we don't necessarily want to see. So there's a lot. Anyway, the third and final link I'm going to send is that layout for Arcade Flow in attract mode. But like I say, if you're not too technical with editing documents, text files, that type of thing, and it's a bit of a head fuck, to be honest with you. Getting to grips with things like retrofe and attract mode, but once you come to grips with it, it really isn't that bad. Also, something clicks. It's like, oh yeah, and then it's all about experimenting really to see what works and what doesn't. So be prepared to spend hours and hours messing around with those. Hello, Youssef from Morocco. How you doing? Well, thank you very much. I always happy to hear people saying that. Morocco. Can't think where Morocco is. Am I stupid to say that's near Egypt? Morocco. Morocco. Where are we? Morocco. North Africa. Is it near Egypt? Morocco. Yeah, probably well out the way. Not very good. Yeah, a long way apart. So I apologize, but I did try. I'm so happy. Why are you so happy? Is it because I'm streaming right now? So yeah, Morocco, I'd imagine it's very hot in Morocco, looking where it is on the map of the world. To be honest, it's pretty warm, pretty hot in the UK at the moment. I don't take my t-shirt off too often, but when it's really hot, I do take it off, and the windows are open. I don't go out in public no t-shirt on because I don't like that, but indoors, yeah. And yeah, in the UK, it's almost like you sweat not actually doing anything, literally sat down and you're sweating. No game stream. You know what, Vulgar? I actually tried doing a game stream a little while back, and someone said it was too loud, and then someone said they didn't like it. So, to be honest, I'd rather just chat a load of weird stuff like I've been doing through this streaming. I don't know. Yeah, I understand blokes, men go out no tops on, just not my cup of tea, you know? Even if I had a six pack, I still wouldn't go out. I just don't like it, you know? $1 American, good to see you. I'm not see you here. I literally came on tonight about almost an hour ago, and I thought, let's do a stream and tell people what's going on. So, yeah, potentially got something called Meniere's disease, which is a branch of tinnitus, which is ringing in the ear, hissing in the ear. But Meniere's disease, I'm going to say it's weird as it sounds, it's an upgrade. In other words, it's worse. But I matched the symptoms, which isn't good. It's very rare Meniere's disease, but that's not to say it's not Meniere's disease. So I'm going to go to the doctors tomorrow if I get an appointment. But if it is Meniere's disease, then it's causing me pretty bad, uh, dizzy, spinning head. I sit on the floor to do something, and it's almost like I go very lightheaded. I also carry things, lift things up, and my head just goes mental. So yeah, my head's not right at the moment, and yeah. So, anyways, hopefully, good night, Clint. Hopefully, Liverpool sorts itself out soon. I was only saying to my partner the other day, what would Paul McCartney think about all this in Liverpool being his hometown? He wouldn't be impressed, I don't think. You got a badass haircut. No, I don't have a badass haircut. I just say I got hair on the sides. We'll say a Mohican without the middle part. That's the type of haircut I got. So yeah, uh, I said it also earlier on the stream. Uh, Obviously, for a long time, I've been doing tutorials literally, quite literally every day. I've been doing it for a very long time, and I just needed a break. What, just a few days ago. So I took a week off in, yeah. And here I am. So I'm back. I started uploading again. I've done a couple of tutorials, and all of a sudden, I've got potentially got this Meniere's disease. And it's like, for Christ's sake, man, I just want to get on with YouTube. And it's like, just this, yeah, learning stuff, being drowsy, it's not a good combination to have. So there you go. It's almost like a mullet. Right, talking about mullets, they're actually making a comeback. Seriously, and moustaches. If you've not seen it, I've seen plenty of lads, chaps, going around thinking they're looking really cool. And then obviously mullets don't have the best reputation to look cool. Why don't you just wear a tracksuit with it as well? But no, they're not just doing the mullet thing, but they were actually doing mustaches as well. If they had an 80s tracksuit on, they'd look just like Harry Enfield's Scouser style, I suppose. Well, they didn't have mullets, but you know what I'm saying. But teknoparrot knew me many problems of like Techno 3 and main memory. Can you speak the solution? So, Yusuf, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Technoparrot, Naomi. Okay, so first of all, we got Teknoparrot. Teknoparrot is a standalone emulator which I've covered. Uh, if you've watched my Teknoparrot setup guide, let me know. The second one you've got is Naomi, and Naomi is a multi-emulator known as Flycast, which I've also covered. Flycast also does Dreamcast, Atomis Wave, and a couple more systems. And Tekken 3 is actually a PlayStation 1 game. In you're saying Tekken 3 in MAME. Uh, Unless you're talking about possibly an arcade version of Tekken 3. I did. I've done loads of Skaven tides. I have been pretty busy. The one I just finished is you probably won't be able to see it too good, but this is a Warp Blaster. like I said, not sure if you can see it too well. It's a little bit dark in there, but yeah, I've been busy doing all that. Yeah, I've done a few of those. I spend a lot of time doing those. It yeah, it's just soothing, really relaxing to do. So yeah, mullet in high school. So yeah, it would have been 80s by the sounds of it. So, I'm sure it looks good in its day, but as you can agree, mullets didn't go down too well in history. People tend to take the piss out of mullets, and I don't know. Maybe it's different in the UK. But anyways, to see them coming back on kids nowadays, young like 20-year-olds, it's like, yeah, it's a bit. It's a very 1980s haircut. There's no denying that whatsoever. It's like people was going to be wanting to dress like Chunk from the Goonies next, doing the Truffle Shuffle or something like that. That'd be the next thing. I'm not really into fashion, to be honest. Never really have been. It's like if a teenager, it's like kids were wearing Nike trainers and Reebok. In this country, in my country, call that chavwear. I never had any time for anything. Which, when something's overhyped, I tend not to bother with it. And yeah, I'm still like that. I like what I like, and I don't follow trends if that makes sense. So yeah. So yeah, model painting, that type of thing. Yeah, it's considered really geeky, but I don't care because that's what I like doing, and I've done it since I was a young teenager. Anyways, so what I'm gonna do is bear with me. So I've just posted my PayPal. If anyone supports my channel, please send support donations to that PayPal. And whilst I'm thinking about it, Yusuf, and I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, has asked me about teknoparrot. You're having issues with teknoparrot, so let me just remind you, teknoparrot. Most of the games you can play through teknoparrot are actually free to play to use the emulator. But there's particular games in teknoparrot where you do need to pay. So, where's my most recent guide for teknoparrot? As you can see, I've covered teknoparrot many times. Is that the one? Yes. So this this is the latest Techno Parrot video that I've done. So that's Techno Parrot. The other one for Sega Naomi is called Flycast, and this is the tutorial for Flycast. So as you can see there, Fly covers Naomi, Atomic Way, Dreamcast, and a couple more. Okay, so you've got this next Naomi, and the other thing you asked for was main. Now I've done MAME a lot of times as well for different systems, front ends. So I'm guessing it's just a standalone emulator for MAME that you're wanting. Where was it? As you can see, I've covered MAME a hell of a lot. This is the MAME, the most recent one. Okie doke. So this one's from MAME. Did my ears deceive me, or did I hear you mention Dreamcast? Yes, yes, I did. Dreamcast was an awesome console, way well before its time. I mean, think about it. When the Dreamcast came out, was it 98, 99? The world didn't really know what internet was. So to have a new Sega console come out, talking about Ethernet ports and World Wide Webs, most people at that point had no idea what all this was about, let alone a console with a keyboard. So way before its time, and even the graphics, the gameplay were way before their time. I always remember PlayStation 2 coming out. I think it was a couple of years afterwards. And I was looking at the games on PS2, and I honestly thought Dreamcast, released a couple of years prior, looked a lot better. And I kind of still do. Could be just me. But even the VMUs on the Dreamcast with the LCD displays, memory cards, way before its time, so inventive. So normally Nintendo comes out with really bizarre creations like that. Sega did it. It's like, really? But first time I seen Sonic Adventure on a demo on a kiosk, I was blown away by it. It just looked amazing in its day. You had no idea the excitement I had looking up porn on my on my modem in my Dreamcast. I don't know. I never actually connected my Dreamcast back in the day to the internet because this is what I'm saying. When the Dreamcast came out in England, many people still didn't have the internet like they have it today. Uh, and it was it dial up. Was it dial up? Yeah, it would have been dial up back then. And of course, it came with the modem in the back. So it's just a shame the Dreamcast never went on. Um, what was that? That was Sega's final console. Yeah, it was, which is a shame because Sega's really missed by a lot of people still. So I can imagine the slowness using that type of modem. It would have probably been like one game I used to play religiously on the Dreamcast. It was Tony Hawk's 2. Obviously you had it on PlayStation 1, but I just thought the Dreamcast version of Tony Hawk's 2 looked better and it sounded better. It was just an awesome game. Really cool game, that one. Yeah. There's actually new games coming out for the Dreamcast, if that's your cup of tea. I actually did a gameplay of a recent Dreamcast game. Which one was it? Stormwind. In fact, it came out 2000. That's just one, but there's still a very good active community out there for Dreamcast.
Okay, I'm gonna be doing some.
Yeah, if you've not heard of Stormwind, check this bad boy out. That's an awesome game, like a really good shooter. Yeah, so Tony Hawk, to be honest with you, after number two, I didn't bother with the rest of the games, but Tony Hawk 2 in particular was just an awesome game. It was so good. So yeah, you've got a big surge with well, a lot of old systems at the moment. I've noticed Mega Drive or Sega Genesis. There's new games coming out. There's pretty much games coming out on any platform, even as far back as ColecoVision, like Intellivision of the late 70s. There are still new games coming out. And as random as this sounds, the game Halo or the franchise Halo was actually made recently, well, in the last 10 years, for the Atari 2600. So, yeah, it's all pixelated, but you can actually buy. Let me show you this. Let's see. Atari 2600 Halo. Yeah, 2010, and there's a box art for it. Can you actually believe someone's actually done this? So, if you look at the gameplay of it itself, obviously it looks like a standard Atari 2600s game, but it's just goes to show what's the Atari 2600 70s, 78, 79-ish. So yeah, if the Atari 2600 has got games still coming out for it, they all have. Hello, Coral. How are you doing? One of the scenes I follow in particular, I've done for years, is a Commodore 64 scene. Yeah, I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say it. I'm a big C64 enthusiast. new hardware coming out for it, new games, new everything. Um, I recently was in a store called WH Smith. I got to show you this. Yeah, I was recently in WH Smith, which is a British store. They sell magazines in there. And I found this. This is Amiga Addict. This is issue 31, which is the latest release of this magazine. And anyways, I'm flipping through the pages and like, whoa, I've got an Amiga, dedicated Amiga magazine in 2024 in a shop. And I'm looking through this and there's so much new hardware coming out for the Amiga alone. So you can literally buy a brand new Amiga running, I think it was Aros, if you're familiar with that operating system, which is pretty much an equivalent of an Amiga operating system. On the back here, advertises Checkmate. If you're into Amiga, check out the website Checkmate. It's called. They're pretty expensive, but literally you can buy a brand new Amiga there, or even casing to put a Raspberry Pi in, or a real A500 motherboard. So Amiga Addict. I did a video on it the other day if you're interested. There's also Commodore 64 magazines out, so I don't think they're in shops, but they're online and you can get them mail ordered. But there's a lot going on for older platforms nowadays, which is amazing. It's been too long. Let's see. I'm not a graphics snob, but I always said NES was as dated as I can tolerate. um, Yeah, the Dreamcast game, Stormwind, I just linked you with. Yeah, that's my video. I did that a good couple of months ago. Every now and again, I will upload new games for all systems, and that was one of those times I did it. You watch Austin from Gameplay and Talk. Is that simply Austin? If it's simply Austin, I don't think he uploads anything anymore. Someone was actually talking about me a little while back during the stream. But yeah, simply Austin. I suppose he did what I do nowadays, and yeah, I used to watch some of his videos. I think on and off. You got good production and quality content here. Well, thank you very much. You know how I do it all. I actually use my phone. Can you believe that? I can't believe it. But yeah, I do. What I do was record on my laptop, which is what I'm streaming on, and to edit, I literally use my Samsung S22. So I've got editing software on it, and literally everything you see on your screen, my videos, it's all done from this. Crazy. Uh, oh, s- mm, no, I've not heard of that one. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were talking about another YouTuber. Yeah, Simply Austin. Yeah, I've not heard of that one. Oh, Retro Marine. Yeah, yeah. You remember we was actually talking about it probably a couple months ago. So, anyways, I'm going to be off now. It's a lot of you, or a couple of you, who's normally in my streams, aware I only do an hour. It's after that I start doing my head in, and I'm sure I do my neighbour's head in as well. It's 1:45 in the morning, so expect content tomorrow or later on today, depending where you are. But anyways, until next time, stay retro.